Hi, this is Garvey Campbell. You are watching Carnival Network. This is our second stream with DysChick of DysChick.com, Deanna Andrews. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, afternoon.
So we've got a very interesting subject. For those who haven't been tracking what we've been putting out, we recently put out two videos that we put out other things, but we put out two videos, short ones that kind of talk about the rising costs of Carnival in Trinidad. One of them was basically talking about how the costume prices, the rising costume prices, have been making it difficult for a lot of local people in Trinidad to actually get involved in their own carnival. And the other one was talking about how in Jamaica there was a story that was out there that basically says that Jamaicans now, in order to get over to Trinidad Carnival, they're being forced pretty much, and that was the word we used, forced. There was a lot of outcry from a lot of the Jamaican community with regards to the terminology that was used. But basically, the long and short of it is that if they wanted to take part in Trinidad Carnival, the cost was getting to the point where it was unrealistic for them to go. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Deanna, could I get your thoughts on the on how much it costs now to get involved in Trinidad Carnival?
So the cost for the costumes has been just escalating, of course, as the carnival is getting more and more popular, more traction. And
Hmm.
obviously, Trinidadians have been doing this for years and they put on a great show. And so they want to monetize it. When you think about it, this is their biggest tourism attraction and it sort of funds the rest of the year. So you kind of understand that mass bands and local shops and wire benders and all these people, this is their time to make their money. So
Hmm.
yeah, but it's getting outrageous.
Yeah.
Some of the costs for the costumes, I mean, backline could be 600 700 US dollars. So I can imagine what a local Trini is
Hmm.
paying to play frontline. I
Absolutely.
couldn't imagine.
Absolutely. So I was born in Trinidad. My dad's from Jamaica. My mom's from Trinidad. I was born in Trinidad, and I can remember going to Trinidad Carnival now 10 plus years ago, and I've had experiences where I go there. I'm paying the equivalent of what pretty much amounts to maybe 150 pounds to get involved in a carnival band, a local one. Um, One of the issues obviously was that the a lot of the bands were slow to get onto the internet with regards to
Mm.
having their costumes displayed on the internet for one reason or another. And it was interesting because you'd when they first started putting costumes on the internet, you could see that the prices were pretty much neck and neck with what was locally available. But with time, what's happened is that the prices, what I found were the prices on the internet started to creep up bit by bit by bit. The prices that were available to people who were coming over were creeping up, and what this was doing is, from what it seemed like, it was making it very difficult for local bands, because obviously, back then you would go to Trinidad, perhaps because the costumes may not have been available online, and then you would go
Hmm.
and you'd find a band while you were there, and you'd buy your costume. What happened with the internet, with people putting their costumes on the internet, people were now buying their costumes ahead of time, then going there and picking their costumes up and then participating. But then what it means is that the costume prices then start to go up because they're obviously looking to reach out to an international market, an
Right.
international audience. Um, because of my local knowledge, I was able to circumvent this and get around this because I knew that, yes, a lot of these, when you see costumes displayed online, and it's like, we're sold out of this costume, we're sold out of that costume. If you're not familiar with the island and what's going on there, you're going to panic. You're going to say, damn, I need to get on board, buy my costume as quick as possible, or else I'll get to Trinidad and there's going to be nothing available. But obviously, having the local knowledge that I did, I knew that particularly several years ago, I knew that you go there, there's going to be some bands there that are not going to be online. Their costumes are going to be, relatively priced the way it used to be, £150, 200 pounds, etc. And and they'd have costumes. They'd have costumes available. Some of the best costumes I've actually had at Carnival have actually not been the ones that I've purchased through online platforms. There've been ones that where you go there and you've got a guy there who knows all of the old skills, wire bending, all of the old traditional skills of costume making, and their costumes are fantastic. They're they're made by hand. They're not mass produced. They haven't outsourced the costume production to other places like China. And as a result, if there are any issues with the costume as well, they'll have someone there who's on site who can fix the costume. It was a lot more of a it was a better experience as well, customer wise. It was a lot more personal, as opposed to getting a pizza box with your costume in there. You check the pieces that are there, and then so long as all the pieces are that's the end of it. And yes, it's a lot more efficient, but I think there's perhaps a little bit of the element of the customer service that may have been lost. The one-to-one kind of interaction, which I can understand. But the long and short of it is now, when I look at the costume prices, I'm like, wow. So okay, so for example, people over here, let's say we want to go to a carnival, we will start planning pretty much, if not immediately after the last carnival, whichever carnival that is, to be completely honest, we're starting to look at things maybe 2 months after the previous carnival, or maybe a little bit later, but thereabouts. Obviously, we've got things to think about. We've got to think about time off work. We've got to think about where we're gonna be staying, who's going to be coming with us. We're already thinking about what fets we're going to be checking out, who we're going to be playing mass with, and we've obviously got to budget and save to go.
Right.
So there's all of that stuff that's going on. Now, it's easier to purchase your costumes online. It's a lot easier. You get it out the way. But when you look at some of the prices, I may or may not be wrong, and if there's any mass bands out there from Trinidad who can speak on this, please contact me. I'd love to have a chat with you about this, because I'm not sure how much they're taking into account the cost for people who live outside of Trinidad. Have they really checked what the standard living wages over in the UK or the United States? Have they looked at what the typical person who's going on a holiday would pay, or are they just trying to so long as X amount of money has come in, let's push it up a little bit so that we can try and see if we can get more money. So there's all of that.
Right. And of course, the perception is that, once you go foreign, the minute you come off the plane, they hand you a bag of money.
That's right.
And you just go spree. And so you've got it like that.
That's right. So
yeah, there is no kind of consideration for the foreigner who's budgeting or traveling with limited resources still wants to take part.
That's right. And obviously, many of the people from the Caribbean, or people who have got family in Trinidad, we have the advantage of knowing people over there. I mean, my parents live in Trinidad. They've both retired. They live in Trinidad. I can go to Trinidad. I got people I can stay with. I've got family over there. So,
lucky you.
That's right. So what happens is that, yes, I would go and buy a costume, obviously, but maybe they're not taking into account the fact that a lot of people who are returning to Trinidad, who have got parentage from there, they're able to get involved because they've got family they can stay with, so they have ways of mitigating the costs.
Right.
But when you're starting to get to the point where people are having to spend maybe £3,000 for a single carnival experience, that you have to kind of look at that and
conservatively.
Yeah. Me personally, I want to travel to as many carnivals as possible. There's a lot of them out there, and even today, I'm still finding out about new ones, even now.
They're popping up all over. I think Iowa has one now. Like they're
Wow.
popping up all over.
Right.
Yeah.
So I suppose what I'm concerned about is what I don't want to happen is that Trinidad prices itself out of
Right.
the carnival scene, where people start saying, you know, maybe it's better to go to another island like Barbados or St. Lucia or Grenada or one of
Hmm.
these other places that have carnivals that are entertaining, fun, give you the opportunity to get directly involved, you know, and have a wicked time. But it's more economical for an
Hmm.
experience that's comparable. So I don't want that to happen. But the other thing that I really don't want to happen is that the locals who live on the island start getting priced out of their own
Yeah.
festival. You know, one of the best things for me with regards to a carnival experience, you know, I don't want to be spending time on the road with people. No disrespect to anyone from the UK or the United States or Europe or anyone. I like to go to an island and be around and be amongst the locals. You
Right.
know, I want to get a strong dose of the local culture during my experience. I don't want to go there and be around too
People
many.
you see all the time.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
if I wanna you know, if I want to see what people from people how people are with regards to carnival in Miami, I'll go to Miami Carnival. You
Right.
know, Labor Day, yes, it's there's gonna be obviously the Caribbean element of the culture, but by and large, I want to see how people in New York are doing things over there.
Hmm.
And it's the same when I go to Trinidad, Antigua, Barbados, St. Vincent, any of those
Right.
places. I don't want to be around too many tourists. So that doesn't mean you have to cut down on the people coming to your island, but it means that you kind of have to make it accessible to the people who are there.
Right.
You see my
Yeah.
point?
And let's be honest. Trinities will play mass.
Of
Okay.
course.
It's not like they won't do it. It's just the financial repercussions
Oh
of
man.
doing it
Oh man.
will be a lot more devastating. I mean, when you go to Trinidad during a recession and you're still seeing people paying for frontline
Oh
costumes, I mean, Trinities will play mass.
yes.
They
Of
will do
course.
it.
Of course.
But you're right. We would want it where we, the foreigners, we, the people flying in, I don't have family there. So when I go, I have to pay for lodging. I have to pay a
Mm.
driver. I have to find out, where I'm going to stay. Is it safe? Can I get to the fets? Can I get to the road for Carnival
Transport.
Day?
Yeah.
Exactly. And, taking all of that into consideration, you're right. At some point, it's going to be cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
But I feel like I would hope that the mass bands are taking that into consideration, but then you also have to see it from their side. They're
Oh
bringing
yeah.
in better designers, better materials. They're learning from abroad because they travel too. So they want to give the best possible
Hmm.
product, and that's going to cost.
Right. And I suppose this goes to my next point again, which may be a bit of a contentious issue, but again, I'm putting this out there. Anyone who has any thoughts on this or any disagreements, let me know. I'm really interested
Let
in the
him know.
subject.
Don't tell me.
So I've been to lots of different carnivals. Um, Antigua, I can remember going to Antigua one time, and this is just an example. Went to Antigua, went to one of the stayed with a really nice family over there, by the way. So I was able to I paid them a certain money, stayed with this family. They took fantastic care of me. The hospitality was incredible. It was proper. They took me everywhere. They showed me where everything was. It would that kind of hospitality will encourage me to go back and see your island if anyone who's listening to this. While I was at one of the events, I think it was the Wadadli Fair. It was either Wadadli Fair, one of the events in the stadium. I went to the bar, and this is a bit of a funny story. Went to the bar, wanted to get a drink, and they had all of these drinks that were not of the island. So they had, I think they had Tia Maria and some other drinks that, as far as I'm concerned, not don't really have place at Carnival. When I go to a Carnival, I want to drink what's local, please.
Right.
And it was relatively expensive relative to the island, which meant obviously the people who were at that bar were pretty much all from foreign. That's kind of like what I saw. When I left, I wasn't interested. I left that, and as I was walking away, there was a fella who was sat down with like a box in front of him. He just had a bottle of some of the local rum, and some cups, and like a bottle of Coke. I went over there, and there was no sign. I said, "Are you selling drinks?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "What do you want one?" I was like, "Yeah." And it was cheap, it was mixed well, and it was strong. And
Most important.
And I was that drink lasted me maybe 3 hours. That one cup, But I suppose where I'm going with this is a lot of the time, going back to your point with regards to putting on, providing better costumes, maybe getting premium inclusive drinks, all of that stuff. There's going to be a market for that. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
However, you don't want to, in my opinion, you don't want to start excluding the locals. I like chilling out with local people on the island. They're the ones who can tell you, give you local knowledge. They're the ones who can tell you where, those obscure fetes that only the locals may know about. We're liming down at blah, 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 blah. Yeah, tomorrow, come down to Maracas Beach. We're going to be on the right side of the beach or the left. Those local bits of information are priceless, and you get a chance to do it as if, or participate as though you're one of the locals to a point. And what I'm worried of is that Trinidad may be in danger of losing that. There was a story, I think it may be 2 years ago, that I saw where a Juve band had bands like the ropes on the side, and they were keeping out locals from the band. Now, Juve morning, if you haven't been, fantastic experience.
Best thing. Yes.
Watching how crazy the locals go on when it's their time to get on the road and do their thing, priceless. But what was clear to me was that those locals, they couldn't afford to take part in the Juve festival, the Juve morning with this band. And as a result, they harbored some resentment because they're priced out. You've got all these people coming over from the UK, Miami, wherever, and they're all inside this band. And they're the ones that are celebrating one of your national holidays. Right. It's like that just really defeats the purpose. We're going there to join in. We aren't going there to take over.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's kind of like what my position is on that.
Yeah, but at least for this year, Trinidad has a long carnival season. And so what's happening right now is all for the locals. The price of the tickets of parties right now is all for the locals. People are having a good time. They're getting on. There are even some events that are free. Now, when we touch down, because I'm going again this year, I am pretty sure I will not find anything for free. The prices of events, I wrote a piece before, what $100 will get you in Trinidad at the fetes. And it's wildly different depending on where you go. And right now, the locals are having a time. They are enjoying themselves. There are parties that are catering to them. And when we touch down, when it's the time when the tourists can really take time off and go and enjoy, that's when the prices will just go straight up. Absolutely. But you're right about like the Juve bands. But the good thing is, or what I hope will continue, is that there are price points for different people. You're right, you won't see it on the internet, which is probably okay because the locals don't need to see it on the internet, right? But there are t-shirt bands.
Yes.
There are, come as you are bands. There's, we're going to give you this particular piece of material and then you make your own Juve costume and come on the road. So you do have some variety there. The problem is it's really not getting showcased. It's not being seen as this is something that is going to help improve the culture and continue. Instead, what you're seeing is all the big boys, all the big mass bands, the large bands are getting people dropping all kinds of thousands of dollars to play in their band. So if I want to make money off of Juve and Carnival, I'm going to try and do what the big boys are doing and get that kind of money too, because this is my shot, right? This is for the year, pretty much all I'm going to get.
That's all right. Okay. Yeah. I hear that. But yeah, it's just such a different experience again, going back to some of the last few times that I went back to Trinidad for Carnival. At that time, the same time when the costumes would maybe set you back maybe 150, 200 pounds. I'm not sure what that is in the United States. You know, there were fetes that may have set you back maybe 25 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
You'd go into one of these fetes. Oh man, such memories. You'd go there, you'd go to the bar. They would give you'd pay maybe £20. You'd get a bottle of rum, bucket of ice, a bucket of Coca-Cola, and you know,
the good old days.
Yeah, and your whole team was set, 7, 8 of you chilling. You know, put the bucket down, put the drinks down. You make a little bit of space. Watch the concert, watch the performance, fete party. You know, talk to a couple of the locals, jam, maybe catch a wine here and there. Yeah, you know, and you had a good time. And then obviously when your drinks ran down, someone else would come through.
Fill your cup.
That's it. Obviously, I'm presuming for the local brands of rum, whichever island you're talking about, that's going to be good for the local brand of rum as well, because maybe you might not know of those brands of rum if you're coming from overseas. But if that's what they're giving you, it's cheap, it's tasty, it's relatively cheap, it's tasty, it's good rum, and you know, you come back saying, you know, these are the types of rum that you need to be checking out. You know, your Black Label, your Jesus Christ, your Punch and Rum, you know.
Oh no,
Punch and Rum.
Punching is for the strong-hearted. I'm not that person, but I definitely fell in love with single barrels.
Okay, okay. You know, your Royal Oak, you know, your hard wine, all of those local rum, your Angostura. You know, you be tasting down there, and then you come back. You know, and again, you're participating in the activities that is common for the locals. You know, the local is not going to be out here drinking Tia Maria or Malibu or anything or Archers. You know, they're going to be drinking local rum, and that's the experience that you want. You want an authentic experience. So this,
in theory,
yeah. I think this is why I did a video a month or two ago, talking about why Grenada's Carnival is becoming so popular. And what draws us to a carnival, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you want an authentic experience. You know,
yes.
When I've spoken to a few tourism boards, one of the things that two of them actually said that when they're talking about their carnivals, they have carnivals that are put on for the locals, and carnivals that are kind of put on at different times in the year that are meant to draw in tourists. And what she was saying was that, you know, the local one is the one she would go to. This is someone who is in a tourism board promoting their island, and she says, you know, the best one is this one. They don't really promote it though. It's a little bit wild and crazy, but this is the one I'd recommend. It's definitely gonna be a lot cheaper, but as a result, more people would be willing to come, put the money down, and try it for the first time and see if they like it. And I think this is one of the reasons why Grenada's Carnival has been doing so well. People, when they come, my first time in Grenada, I lost my mind.
As you should.
I was warned. Obviously, me coming from Trinidad, I'm like, yeah, I got a good idea of what to expect. It was insane. You know, they had the second day of the parade where you got your costume and did all of that. But Jesus Christ, the Juve morning was unbelievable.
I hear it's unmatched.
You know, it was unbelievable. And what was even better was the richness of the culture and the story. So obviously, you know, you speak to a few people, you see the symbolism of the chains, the crazy behavior, how the jabs are acting, you know, what they're doing, the short knees, this, that, the other. And each carnival character that I saw had a story behind it.
Yeah.
And that that authenticity gave it a lot more meaning and did not take away. And this is what I like the most. It did not take away from the fun. In fact, it just added to it. It was absolutely insane. I lost track of time. I don't know what time I got off the road. Or everyone that was there was drinking local rum that was obviously distilled, made on the island. So you got a real authentic idea and experience of Grenada, and that's what I like. I mean, I'm not sure what everyone else out there likes, but when I go to an island, I want to come away saying, yeah, I did it like an Antiguan, or I did it like someone from Barbados, or wherever that is, So I'm
getting involved in the culture and understanding the history, like you said, the symbolism that adds to it. It really does, and that's missing from a couple of islands. Definitely from Trinidad. The first time I went, that's what drew me in. We went to Kaizo Tents. We went up to Paramin to see the Blue Devils. We went to Mayaro to see the stick fighting. We saw the Cambule riots reenactment. And unfortunately, when you're selling Carnival to the tourists, you never mention any of that.
So actually,
if you talk to a tourist about Carnival, if they've ever been, their thing is, oh, I got to party in the streets half naked and drank rum, and that's what they think Carnival is.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something else as well that I wanted to ask you off the back of this. I meant to ask you the last time we streamed. You've been to Point 14 Borough Day.
Yeah.
Right. How much did that set you back? What was the cost of that experience, roughly?
Almost nothing. It was the cost was in getting there, because it's South Trinidad, so the cost was really in getting there. And I went when I was doing a study abroad in Trinidad, so I had been there for the Port of Spain big carnival. We played in Minshall's band.
Like, right, okay.
We had the experience.
Yeah.
13 hours in the hot sun, and I was like, I will never do this again. Years later, I'm going all the time now. But it was amazing. And then we were there still in May. So, not everybody wanted to go. And I was at Uri, where there were a bunch of other islanders. And they were like, you don't want to go there. It's dangerous. You can't go there. That's not for you. You're a foreigner. You have the accent. You're going to go down there and you're never coming back. And so, of course, that made me really want to go, because I'm like, if other people from Grenada, Jamaica are like, don't go. I'm like, well, now I have to go. Now I have to.
You have to go check it out for yourself. Absolutely.
Exactly. And it was amazing. And like you in Grenada, I had a great time. Every few moments, my cup was being refilled. So it was wonderful. I had a great, great time. And of course, it's like its own different kind of juve. It was the first time that I ever experienced that, and it was wonderful.
Oh, it was your first juve experience?
My first juve in Point. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, we got there in the middle of the night.
There's nothing.
And then we just stayed.
There is nothing like that feeling of just before juve morning kicks off.
Yes.
Incredible.
And everybody is on the road. People are already you have rhythm sections popping up, and it was just amazing. It was great.
Okay.
But that kind of local culture, that authenticity, that sort of like, we're just here to party. There is no big fanfare to it. It's just, people on the road having fun, sharing a time. And, you hear things about Point, and I had to go and experience it for myself. And if you are there in May, I would highly recommend you go for Borough Day.
I've got.
It doesn't get the same advertising that Port of Spain, but it's worth it.
Which is crazy. I think is crazy.
You're gonna get comments when you post this. Trust me. There are gonna be a lot of people who are gonna tell me, don't tell foreigners to go to Point, but I say go.
Point 14. Put it in your calendar.
Yes.
Yeah, there was something else, another thought that came to me as well, that regarding these rising prices. One of the people who responded to the video on Twitter about the rising costs, she was basically saying, they should rise the costs because it's obviously going to bring more money to the island. But when I asked her, is she not concerned about it pricing people out of taking part in the festival, who are people who live on the island who are local? She actually it was clear she hadn't really thought about it. And it's a bit of it's a bit ironic. So for those people who don't know too much about the history that sits behind Trinidad Carnival, there was, I think, late 1800s, early 1800s, and this is not exact, but look this information up yourself. We've actually got it on Carnival Network's website. So have a look it up. Look up the Carnevale riots. Mm-hmm. They at that point in time, there was a period of time where Carnival was pretty much just for the upper class. Carnival was held indoors. It wasn't on the streets. And what happened was that the lower classes, the people who had perhaps just been emancipated or just come out of slavery, their thing was taking that festival, and although they weren't able or permitted to participate in the indoor festivals, they took it to the streets and did it their own way. And in Trinidad, a lot of their costumes were designed to mock the people who were putting on these ballroom carnival parties. But what happened was that the carnival the street carnival actually gained more popularity than the indoor activity. Mm-hmm. But the main thing was that what I see is that there's a parallel in terms of the fact that you've got these people who are willing to spend lots of money for a type of experience, but the real organic experience of Carnival happens on the streets. Mm-hmm. It has an aspect of an aspect of not being so tightly controlled, which I suppose is a bit of an issue. It does perhaps maybe does clash with the whole aspect of monetizing it and turning it into a business. But that feeling that you get when you're on the streets and it's all kicking off and everyone around you, everyone on the island has got just, there's a wave of energy that's coming. Nothing like it.
Nothing like it. It is a free up. Absolutely. That is the point of it. Yeah.
I actually liken it to, have you seen the Purge?
I've heard of it. So
right.
Yeah.
So the Purge,
but that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. The Purge, obviously the idea of the Purge, the film, was that they give people one night to blow off steam. Obviously in the Purge, they're going around. They go
G-rated way of saying
they're going around.
There's a reason I haven't seen it.
They're going around doing stuff that they shouldn't really do. However, that ability to free yourself up, throw off all of a lot of the social conventions that you have to stick to for a season. It's one of the driving forces behind all carnivals, I believe. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things that makes Carnival work. So I suppose the message I'm putting out there and where I stand on it is that, yes, monetize the Carnival. I'm willing to pay for it. My friends are willing to pay for it. If you can communicate to tourists, people who don't know about it, how much fun it is, they'll want to come. They'll want to check it out and they'll return. But I don't want them to price the locals out of the festival, because that will really kill it, as far as I'm concerned.
They're the driving force. You want to see people having fun, people having a good time. Mm-hmm. This is their free up time too. Ash Wednesday is right after it, so it's definitely got that kind of religious aspect of just engaging in all of these, like you said, kind of like a purge, a free up, before you kick off.
Absolutely.
Go get your ash and just be a good Christian and pretend that never happened. Monday and Tuesday never happened. But yeah, I think wrapping it in culture and not just making it this time that you could come down to the island and just get wild on the streets, because you also don't want people disrespecting your island.
Agreed.
And disrespecting your culture.
Agreed.
And making it, just boiling it down to some very basic, banal elements. You want them to know that there's a history in this. And so promote all of that. Make it so that I want to come back to your island when it's not carnival
Yeah,
season.
absolutely.
Make it so that I understand, I get a glimpse into the culture, and I understand that this is something that is important to the locals, it is important to the people of
Mm,
Trinidad, Grenada, Barbados, Jamaica, wherever. Make it so that now it's a cultural element, and I want to come back to see the culture,
that's
not
right.
just to get wild in your streets and then go home.
Absolutely, absolutely agreed. So we've been going now, I think, for about I think we may have been going for around about half an hour. I suppose we can close off here, but if you were
Mhm.
to give 3 or 4 things that you think might help, or 3 or 4 things that perhaps should be thought about or enacted in order to make Carnival something that is as accessible to tourists as well as
Mhm.
locals, what would you think those 3 or 4 things could be? Perhaps areas of improvement that may obviously you can bring down the price, but maybe it might end up
Yeah.
encouraging more people to try it out. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, make sure that it's culturally significant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't just tell people to buy this costume and they don't understand, first of all, what the costume means, right? Like designers take a lot of time. It's art for them. Let people know what this is, what this means, and the elements and all the time and the love that you're putting into this. Communicate that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Let people know that there's value in this. Um, as someone in New York, when I hear people who've gone to Carnival, and don't get me wrong, it's not just people who are, born and raised US citizens. There are people who have parentage, from Trinidad, and they don't know the
Mm.
cultural aspects. The Cambouele riots reenactment happens during the carnival season. It happens while we're there
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as tourists. So make sure people understand that. The steel pan, the panorama, make sure people know that and understand the history and the significance. The Kaizo tents, I mean, everything that has to do with carnival is significant. So just sort of showcase that, highlight that, have pride in that, and don't just turn it into a money making scheme. Don't boil it down to very bare elements because as tourists, as foreigners, remember your money is not just coming from white tourists. Your money is coming from people who have West Indian background. Your money is coming from people who are, just travelers in general and they want to understand just something new, something different. So really make it something that is distinct to your island and that showcases the best of your people and include your local people in the event. Make sure that they know about it, make sure that they can get there. Believe me, there are some carnivals where local people don't even know things are happening because it's so catered to the
Mm.
tourists.
Mm.
So make sure they know, make sure they have access to it. I mean, you can't build outward and build inward. The people have to have a pride in it. I want to walk through the streets of Trinidad and feel the energy from everyone before I get to a fete.
That is a great that's a great note to end on. But yeah, if you're watching this, don't stay silent. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear your points of view. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Agree, disagree with what's being discussed here? What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? Are you going to Trinidad Carnival this year? Which carnivals are you going this year? How much do you think a trip to one of these carnivals would cost? Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that there is a danger of locals being priced out of the local festival? Not just in Trinidad. You have to look at everywhere else as well.
Yes.
Um, you know, and do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, it may end up bringing more money into the island, but it might be at the cost of alienating the people who, to a point where they're at the beginning and make the festival what it is.
Right. Yeah.
So we'll leave it there. Could you just let people again remind people where they can find you, Deanna, online?
Sure. You can find me at dyschick.com and on all social media at DysChick. I am probably going to be posting everything that I do in Trinidad for Carnival because I think it's really important to showcase not just the mass, it's important to showcase all elements. And so I will be posting everywhere and doing a recap on my site.
Yeah, me and the team over here will definitely be watching. You know, on our side, check out the website www.carnivalnetwork.co.uk. Look for us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and most importantly, let us know what you're thinking in the comment section. The two videos that we put out there seem to get a quite a big response. So this is obviously something that is a bit of a contentious issue, but rather than stay silent, let's work it out. Let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do. All right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hope you enjoyed it. This is Garvey Campbell with Deanna Andrews, DysChick, and you have been watching Carnival Network. We'll see you next time. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Carnival Network, on Twitter at CarnivalNet, and check out our website, carnivalnetwork.co.uk.